and we're live, obviously, with Stockport County match reaction with that 1-1 draw that we had with Crawley Town just now. I mean, disappointing result again from Stockport County. One thing I have forgot to do whilst before I started this stream was to bring up the live chat. So we're just going to do that and then we'll be good to go. Bear with us a second. Here we go. This is a better way to it. Got the full chat up here. So this should be a little bit easier. Torre is absolutely useless. Costas again with the ball. What the hell was he doing? Lobbing a ball into the centre of the pitch. I mean, that's fundamentally where the goal came from, wasn't it? Ibal Torre just launching the ball into the air. Their player controls it, on the ground. Good opportunity for him to shoot, and he did just that, and they're back in the game 1-1. Fucking useless again. The franchise were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the way I see it is we forgot the title. Forget the title I have. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very negative now, and it's disappointing because that's not how we wanted it to be. We wanted to be doing this stream, being positive because Stockport County have won the game, and unfortunately, yet again, County just don't seem to be able to turn those draws into wins. And I think we had this against Salford on Thursday, and I think we got a similar type of result again tonight, where ultimately, if you want to go up as champions, you want to win the title, you've got to win these kind of games, and County haven't done that today. So we only got ourselves to blame, and I said that if County don't win them 2 games in hand, we've only got ourselves to blame. And at the moment, we've only got 1 game left in hand, and that will only put us a point behind Mansfield now, I think. So it's not really good enough, to be honest. And I don't want to be too critical of Stockport County because we have had a good season in the sense that we had a really, really strong run. But I think we need to get over that. That's been and gone. That was months ago now, but we went on that winning streak. And since then, it's been absolutely abysmal. We haven't had any rhythm. We haven't had a run of games together where we've won 4 or 5 on the bounce. And ultimately, if you want to go up as title winners, you've got to do that. Having a good 12-match winning streak isn't enough because other teams can have good winning streaks as well. Maybe not lasting 12 games, but still strong winning streaks. And ultimately, County at the moment are living off that winning streak that they had back in, back in November, and that's not good enough. We're in March now. We're nearly in April, and we're nearly at the end of the season. And County have to be performing a lot better, and we have to be getting better results if we want to go up as champions. And to be honest, if we want to be going up as automatic promotion spots, because we're on 68 points now. That's a point ahead of MK Dons and Wrexham. We play MK Dons on Saturday, and I've said it before. I keep saying these games are massive games. That game's a massive game now on Saturday, and there's absolutely no excuses. We have to win them. We have to win them games. I've lost the chat. What's going on there? Here we go. It was absolutely useless. He should never play for County again. I mean, what are our options? We haven't got any other options. Bristow's obviously injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out for now. Challoner fair to blame for too many defensive substitutions. Why take Kane off when he created the goal and was looking solid and not tired or anything? The only thing I can think of is possibly Matt's sharpness because he hasn't played consistently at a high level for a long time. I can't remember the last time he played before signing for County. So the only thing I can think of is he's not match sharp. He hasn't played. He's not used to playing that many minutes. It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, he's 31 years of age, so he's not absolutely past it. So it should be an energy thing, but I can only think it's to do with sharpness. And that's me trying to sort of come up with an excuse for the manager who, to be fair, I think he's done brilliant things for us and brilliant things even within this season. But I do think a little bit of the decision making at times has been suspect, and I do think that at the moment, County are throwing this title race away. Look, I did a video probably about 4 weeks ago on the channel, and I think I said a County bottle in it, and I spoke about Mansfield and how good they were, and I held my hands up for some of the things I said about them at the beginning of the season that I got wrong. And at the time, it was, well, we're not throwing it away, we're not bottling it. What are you on about? And I think at the moment, and I don't want to be proven right, it is looking a little bit like we're bottling it. And I said I still think we'll go up as title winners. But I did say that it would depend on these kind of results, and I did say that we've got to win our games in hand. I don't care what the table says, we're not in a second place team. Well, no, I think if you look at the form table, I think it probably has us at about 15th or 14th at the moment over the last sort of 5 or 6 games. I mean, I think you can go across maybe the last 10, 15 games. Our form hasn't been brilliant. I actually did it the other day. I think it was looking at the form in the table between match day 39 to 29, and I think we were about 13th, which says it all. We haven't been a top of the table side for a long side. We haven't been playing like it probably since November. And I understand we've had injuries. I understand that things like that have happened in the season, but that happens for every side. And at the end of the day, County, if they want to go up as champions, you've got to play like champions, and that's not just for 12 matches. You know, you've got to do it game in, game out. You know, when you're looking at losing games, you've got to try and, you know, get a draw. And when you're looking at drawing games, you've got to turn them into wins. And I think ultimately that's what champions do. And at the moment, County aren't doing that. So I want to get people's thoughts. Obviously, a lot of people negative in the chat about, you know, the title being gone. Are people worried that we won't be promoted automatically? Are people now starting to panic? You know, we may have to go through the playoffs again, because I don't think we can really afford to be doing that again. Obviously, I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. We've got a lot of injuries, and some players might not come back this season. But if we end up in the playoffs, those players will be back available this season because they'll be available in time for the playoffs. So what I would say is if County go to the playoffs, which we don't really want to be talking about, but if they do, there's absolutely no excuses to not get promoted. We all go in as absolute number one favourites to win the playoffs, and we'll have to deal with that pressure. And given, you know, the results at the moment, the performances at the moment, I'd say that we're not very good at dealing with pressure. I think, you know, beginning of the season, when the pressure wasn't on, I think we were a lot more capable of just playing how we want to play and getting results. And I think that you know, ultimately, I think we've given into the pressure. Bailey, totally anonymous. The only shot was woeful. It's looking like we're bottling it. Looks like the title's up. Looks like the title's up in smoke and clinging on for automatic. I think it does look like we're clinging on for automatics at the moment, to be honest. The results recently haven't been good enough. We should have probably won the game today. I'm not saying we deserve to win today, but you know, in terms of going into the game, we had to win that if we want to be talking about getting promoted. We had to win on Thursday. You know, I think at the end of the day, it was a poor performance on Thursday, but I think that, you know, given that second half performance where we recovered it, okay, you come out of it going, okay, with the, you know, points not the worst result, but we have to win Monday. Well, we haven't won Monday, so and now we're saying, well, the result's not great. We've got to win Saturday. Are we going to win Saturday? You know what I mean? I'm not too sure. Hey, Chandler to blame for that result. Too many subs and defensive tactics. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you look at it though. I mean, what attacking options have we got off the bench? You know, possibly Ben Knight, who didn't get on the pitch tonight, but we haven't really got a great squad available to us on the bench. That's the only defence I can make for Chandler, is that we have been injury ravaged this season. I think that's what I want to say. Bailey, I thought, did well second half. That Richards should have stayed on longer. I mean, Richards looked decent. I think he had one or two decent shots, but didn't really trouble the keeper too much. The game was a bit of a dead game, I thought, really. I mean, County got the first goal, and you think, okay, it'll be a bit of a dead 1-0, possibly. But they got back in it from a terrible defensive mistake from Ibal Toure, and ultimately, even after that goal, it just looked like the momentum. It didn't really look like County had gone, right, okay, we need to win this game, let's go for it. It just didn't really seem to have much enthusiasm to try and get back in the game. He didn't need to go 5 at the back. Thought we were dominating as it was. I think that is his tendency a lot of time. He does like that 5 at the back, and obviously it served as well at times last season. But I think we were a lot better at the beginning of this season when we were probably playing more of a 4-3-3 or more of a 4-4-2 diamond, where we just looked a lot more free as a team and looked a lot more like we were approaching games of, well, how do we want to play? You know, what are our strengths rather than worrying about the opposition's strengths? And I think that's been the problem. Do we know when Powell's back? I'm not so sure when Powell's going to be back, to be honest. I think that it was only a minor knock, so hopefully he'll come in possibly Saturday. I'd certainly expect him to come in by Forest Green. But again, I rate Powell as a player. I think he's a brilliant player, but he's not really had much of influence on this County side this season, unfortunately. Bristow looks out for the season. Powell injured again. Tennant injured is beyond the joke. Are our players made of glass? Well, I mean, this is another point. We've brought in a new medical, head of medical department or something like that. It was around this. I think it was the same day that we brought in Todd Kane and Ben Knight last week. We brought in someone new in the the medical department. Whether or not that's something to do with the injuries, in retaliation to the injuries we've had this season, I'm not so sure. But possibly the training possibly could be down to the fact that we sustained that many injuries. I don't know what all the injuries are down to as well, because if they're all muscle injuries, you can probably say we're overtraining them, we're overworking them. But I'm not sure what all the injuries are. Obviously, we know some of them, like Southern Hales, that was just out of the blue, wasn't it? Obviously, Cowan Doyle, couldn't have been helped. That was a head-to-head collision, wasn't it? I think against, was it Mansfield on New Year's Day? So I'm not sure, but obviously a lot of the players, obviously Lou Barry as well, picked up an injury, and I think County fans talk about Lou Barry as if he's been this brilliant player for most of the season. We only really had him for 2 months, and I think that says about the impact he had on us in those 2 months. Is that we're almost waiting for him to come back. We don't know how good of a player he's going to be when he comes back as well, because he's a young player, and young players are generally inconsistent. He only had a good 2 months, and he's been out for 4 or 5 months. So there's this expectation that Louis Barry will come back, and I'm guilty of it as well. There's this expectation he'll come back and he'll hit the ground running, and he'll save our season and bag a hat trick in every game. And I just don't think it's necessarily going to happen like that. We missed Collar, Wright, and Barry. Hopefully they're back for the April games. I mean, Ackle Wright's a big miss as well, but I do feel more steady at the back with Ethan Pye. I'm happy to have him back alongside Horsfall. I think it's that left back position, isn't it? Potentially, if we can get Ackle Wright back, we could play him at centre back with Horsfall, and then shove Ethan Pye out to left back. Potentially, that might be our best defence with Todd Kane at right back. Pye's been class this season. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So, I mean, what are people's thoughts on potentially, if we can get Ackle Wright back, possibly playing Ethan Pye at left back with that back four of sort of Todd Kane, Horsfall, Ethan Pye at left back, and Ackle Wright alongside Horsfall? Would that work? Thought Torrey did well until the unfortunate mistake. I think he's just that kind of player, and I think it's funny, really, in a lot of ways about Torrey. It kind of sums up his season these last 2 games. Very hit and miss, because he scored the goal on Thursday. Come Monday, he's making the mistake it cost us, and we end up drawing the game. So I think that almost sums up his season. He can be a hero at one moment and the enemy the next, and I just think he's that kind of player. Manager got tactics wrong. Richards was showing better things in the second half. I think Richards has got potential, and I think it's just a confidence thing for him. Understanding the ability that he has and knowing how to get the best out of that ability. And I think that, he'll probably be one of them players that might go on loan somewhere else, or might come back next season and just, light the world up. I think it's just having that confidence. And that comes from having minutes as well, because he hasn't really got in the side. I think back to coming on at half-time against Salford on Thursday. That's the first real run-in he's had in the side. Then, of course, starting the game tonight. That's a massive confidence for him. But it's going to take time for him. He's a young player. Said it before. Generally, young players bring in consistency with them. And it's about building that form of consistency. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Richards, whether or not he starts the game again against MK Dons, which is a humongous game. I keep saying every game's a big game, and the problem is if you call every game a big game, then what about what do you call the game against MK Dons on Saturday at Edgley Park? That's an even bigger game now, because ultimately we had to win those 2 games in hand. We've bottled one of them already. We've got one game left in hand, and we've got a big game against MK Dons on Saturday, which means that we have to win every game pretty much. I mean, I've just got a list up as well at the moment. I was just working on it. So at the moment, if you're looking League 2, I've got the League 2 table up. 72 points Mansfield, 38 games played. Stockport with 37, 68 points. So we know even if we win our game in hand, our level game, we'll go a point behind them. So it's important we win that game in hand. However, if you look at the fixtures, we're yet to play of Stockport County. So we've got to play MK Dons, Forest Green, AFC Wimbledon, Sutton, Colchester, Morecambe, Notts County, Accrington and Wrexham. And then you look at the teams that Mansfield have got to play. Wrexham, Colchester, Accrington, Crawley, Forest Green, MK Dons, Gillingham, Barrow. There's only 2 of them teams that we're not playing. So a lot of the teams we're both going to be playing are both similar type opposition. So if Stockport County aren't able to win them games, Mansfield got to play Crawley. We've just lost. We've just drawn with them. It feels like a loss, to be honest. So a lot of the quality of sides we're up against, even if we can beat them teams, which we'll have to, there's a very good chance that if we can beat them, so can Mansfield. So I think really we've got to hope that they slip up somewhere. But as I say, it's all well and good Mansfield slipping up. They did against what was it, Tranmere last week. But where are we to capitalise? We're not there. We're not winning games. Not putting points on the board. So MK Dons is a big game for sure. But other teams are not winning week in, week out. That's the point. I think we're in this weird situation where MK Dons is a big game for us. We're trying to get back in top spot against Mansfield, but the teams around us are dropping points. It's a very good job that teams around us are dropping points, because if they were dropping points, they'd be ahead of us. Like we're only second at the moment because other teams are bottling it below us. So we're bottling it in the title race, but teams below us, like Crew, Wrexham, Crawley, whoever it is, MK Dons, they're bottling it. So that's the only reason why we're still second, to be honest. And I'm not trying to be negative, but it's true, really. We're only second because other teams are bottling it, and we're bottling it in the title race. A point is better than no point. I agree with that, but at the same time, where's that point going? We'll probably finish second. At the current rate, we'll probably finish second because we're bottling it in the title. Teams below us are bottling it for second place. So we'll probably finish second as it stands right now. But is second really where we want to be? We all deep down want that title. There's no doubt about that. Toure will cost Challoner his job if he keeps playing him. He's simply not good enough. Did people hear Madden shouting to run down the wing? Toure is clueless. I mean, obviously this guy's got a massive agenda against Sibal Toure, and I understand he's been very hit and miss. But what I would say to you is, who else comes in? Unless we play Ackle at centre back alongside Horsfall, and we play Todd Kane at right back, and then we play Pye at left back, we don't really have a lot of other options. And Dave Chandler said about Toure, he said, look, what was it, over the last 6.5 years, he's been the most consistent left back in League Two, I think he said. So obviously he clearly rates him. He's not going to drop him if he rates him. Wouldn't mind Mansfield running away with it, so they can take points off Wrexham next week. Top three is all we need. Champions is a bonus. I mean, I don't think any of us mind Mansfield running away with it if they beat Wrexham, because ultimately we want to finish second. We certainly don't want to be dropping second spot as well, because then the nerves will get really out of hand. Because if we get to near the end of the season and then we drop second spot as well, and then we've still got to play Wrexham on the final day, it's going to be really, really nervy, that final day. And what we do want is that final day to almost mean nothing. We want to make sure that automatic promotion's in the bag before that final game, because as I said, the nerves are just going to be absolutely dreadful if we're going into that final game having to get a result, and Wrexham will love it if they do us over, that's for sure. You're right, pal. We're only still in it because others are bottling it as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying it. I don't want to be saying it. It's a shame that I'm saying that, because I remember going to the games when we were on that brilliant run, and I remember thinking, wow, what a season we're in for. This is going to be a fantastic season. And it could still be a fantastic season if we go up as champions. But I think if we go up as second now, I'd be a bit like, well, it's not really the season that I was hoping for. And some would say that's a little bit spoilt. Some would say that's a little bit entitled. But the thing is, I do feel a bit entitled, because we've been on that winning streak, and I know that we've got the quality on our day to be that team that can win League Two. That's where the frustration comes, because I know on our day we can beat anyone. And we haven't beaten Mansfield twice this season. We've lost both games. They're a really solid side, but I think that probably on our day we're probably better than them. And I'm disappointed we haven't been able to show that in the games against them. And I'm disappointed that as it stands at the moment, we won't be able to show that in in the league table as well. Hopefully people can get liking the video as well, get liking the stream if you're enjoying it as well. I'm appreciating all these comments coming in. And of course, if you are new to the channel, do go to subscribe. I forgot to say that in the stream I did pre-match. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. I think that's the way to look at it. But I mean, we were saying it on Thursday night, weren't we? Some people have been following this side, National League North, where there was no hope left. And now we're sat here crying about maybe not winning the title and still going up, second place. I think when you put it into perspective, it says a lot about how far the club's come on in the last few years, and that's something that I'm conscious of. I don't want to be sat here having only really followed the side closely over the last few seasons and turn up and say, well, we should be winning everything, because I'm not saying that, but I do think with the potential in the squad, players like, Nick Powell's championship standard. He's not played like that this season. I don't necessarily think it's all his fault, because I do think that Powell's a really good player. I just think he's a player that has to play in a certain type of team, and I don't think Stockport County have been able to get the best out of Nick Powell this season, and I think that's disappointing. I also think it's disappointing that we haven't been able to get the player out of him that I was expecting to, because I thought he'd bring goals and assists, and he just hasn't really brought that. Looks like it's going to be SOS Collar and Barry, but it's asking a lot for Barry to come back and hit the ground running. That's what I've been talking about. There are a good few, get my words out, there are a good few of those players who will not be good enough for League One. The football is a lot faster pace. I mean, I think this is the worry, isn't it? The fact that we find it so difficult to get promoted in the first place. I say difficult, we are still second, let's put it in perspective. Is a massive worry, because a lot of these players are going to have to go. I think when we got promoted to League Two, we made quite a few changes in the squad. I think if we went up again, we'd still have to see quite a few changes again, and that's going to be sad as well, because there's a lot of good, there's a lot of players I like watching. Possibly not at the moment, but there's a lot of players that I think will have to be moved on, and he's absolutely right when he says that. That there are some good players, but a lot of them also will have to be moved on. I think it's always a shame as well. But I mean, Seven Hales, for example, fantastic player, club favourite, but he's injured until October. Todd Kane's now in. We might sign a right back if we go up in League One. As much as he's a club favourite, football's a ruthless business, and suddenly he might come back. There might be a new right back who's the favourite, and it'll be Southern Mail too. And I think that's the thing about football, and that's especially if you go up the leagues as well, and if you go up the leagues quickly, it can change very, very, very quickly. KN, trying to work out what that means, to be honest. But yeah, as I say, things can change very quickly in football, and I mean, it's like Ryan Rydell. You know what I mean? Last season, undroppable, and this season been injured, and no one was really talking about him coming back. Thought Rico had a good game. Wotton was better, but Torre had a few more. But Torre had a mare. Yeah, bad goal to give away, but I think County were better tonight. We probably were better tonight, but it's not saying a lot, because ultimately it doesn't matter. The result wasn't there. Noyle as well on the books. Noyle's an option as well. Look, he could easily come in and become that main right back as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Does anyone know what happened with the first goal, with the goal that County scored? Because as it was scored, I've sort of turned away and not seen it actually go in. So I've seen Wotton header it. I then turned back around, seen it go in the net, and I thought Wotton had scored. And they must have taken a nick off Sarcevic, but I don't have a clue what happened there, to be honest. 6 wins from 23. Is that Stockport County? Is that 6 wins from? That must be. Can you confirm if that's Stockport County with 6 wins from 23? Yeah, this is a very, very good point. You're all blaming one player, but how many defenders try closing down the goal scorer? This is the thing. I don't want to turn it into individualising players and criticising players individually. But at the end of the day, yeah, 0. No one bothered. No one bothered to close down the player, and that's the thing. And look, we go back to the goal that we conceded against Salford on Thursday night. It was an unbelievable strike from Garbutt, don't get me wrong. But even on that occasion, I thought we could have done a bit more to be a bit more proactive, to close down the shot a bit more. And it might have always been going in still, but at least look like you're trying to close down, at least wake up a little bit. And at the moment, we don't seem to be showing that. And I think maybe it got a little bit to us, the hype about winning the title, going up as champions. Maybe that's got to our heads a little bit. Maybe we've forgotten what we need to be doing. Maybe we've forgotten the basics of football, because we're not closing down well enough. We're not defending well enough. We're not creating chances as much as we were. Apart from, obviously, we did do that against Newport, to be fair. We created a lot of chances, but even then, there weren't really chances where I thought we're going to constantly score here. And I think we just lost that edge to us. I've said it before. I think we just lost that edge, and I think we got. I think when we lost to Newport, and I keep going back to it, back in at the end of November, we lost a few players to injury as well, to be fair. We've just lost that spark that we had in the side, and that's massively worrying, because it does feel like we're just, and someone said it before, clinging on to second place. Clinging on, just hoping that teams around us continue to mess up, so we'll go up in second place. Is that really how we want to go up to League One? Do we really want to go up having just clinged on for half a season and not played well? But the defenders didn't expect their own player to lob it over his head and put it out for a throw-in, I'm sure. I mean, I see both sides, but ultimately, I'm going to have to disagree on that, because I think that, yes, you wouldn't be expecting your own player to do that, but on the football pitch you have to be prepared for anything, and that's the thing. So ultimately, where the defender should be switched on. It's the main role of a defender, is to be switched on and focused. The concentration level has to be spot on, and it's not about, well, do you expect it to happen? I'm sure they might not expect someone to put a really good cross and try an overhead kick, but you've got to stop that as well. You've got to be prepared for anything as a defender. Same with the keeper, same with defenders. Concentration has to be spot on. It's the most important position on the pitch, and in terms of concentration. And yeah, it was a terrible ball that he launched into the air. I don't know what he'd be thinking. If I'm Challoner, if I'm one of his teammates, I'm going to the dressing room at the end of the game asking him what on earth he thought he was doing. But at the end of the day, he'd turn around, he'd be able to turn around and go, well, none of you closed him down. And if they just go, well, I wasn't expecting you to do that, well, that's not good enough. So both are wrong. It's wrong of Toure to boot it into the air like that, but it's wrong for them to not even make an attempt to close down as well. So I see both sides. I think ultimately on the day we weren't good enough as a team, and we can individualise players and criticise, and that's right to do as well. And we all have our opinion. But at the end of the day, as a team, we weren't good enough today, and as a team, we haven't been good enough for a long time, really. And it's disappointing. But hopefully it changes on Saturday. But again, MK Dons, they started the season where they took a bit of a dip. They seem to be coming back again now. It's on Sky. It's at Edgeley Park. It's a big game. They'll come into this game seeing that County are a little bit there for the taking at the moment. Have not had the best of run over the last few games. What are people really expecting on Saturday? You know what I mean? Because for me at the moment, I've said we'll win both these games. I've gone in confident, and a little bit of heart over head maybe with some of it. But I can at least say justifiably we should be winning them 2 games. Saturday's a whole different kettle of fish, to be honest, and I am worried about that. Sorry, 7 wins from 23 in all competitions. Fair enough. Thanks for clarifying. That is poor though, and that's what I've been saying ever since November, where our winning streak ended. We just haven't had that rhythm, and it's not promotion form. It's not title winning form. It's not automatic promotion form. It's not playoff form. It's mid-table form. That, not, if that. So that's disappointing, and that's why ultimately we've only got ourselves to blame that we're in the position we're in. Because yes, we've had injury problems, but so every other team would have had injury issues. And whilst I sympathise with the manager, because you look at the bench and who you're going to bring on when when your squad's been depleted with injuries, ultimately that's something we've got to learn on from next season. If County do go up to League One, which we should do, we have to make sure we have a squad strong enough that when we have injuries, we are able to deal with them. Another thing as well that might be important in recruiting players in League One in the summer, make sure we look for players that don't have strong injury records, because a lot of our players have been consistently getting injured. We look at the players that have been injured throughout the season. A lot of them have been then re-injured again, so that's another issue. We just kicked it out, and other players did, and that caused problems with Longthroat. Also, they were not the worst side I've seen this year. But that's it. I mean, they're in decent form as well, Crawley, at the moment. 4 wins in the last 5 coming into this game, 10th place in the table coming into this game. We knew that we weren't going to be playing inside bottom of the table. So, and they gave us a game at Edgeley Park at the beginning of the season as well, so we certainly knew it wasn't going to be an easy game. And ultimately, County had to be up for it, and we weren't up for it. So we only got ourselves to look at. The winning teams go a goal up and then shut the game down and try to pinch another goal. The players and Challoner panicked. But I think we took the goal, and I think we just tried to sit back on it, and we didn't keep them out because they managed to get back in the game. I do understand that, and with the Toure attempt to clearance, if you want to call it that, I do understand that had he not done that, we probably would have held on to the game and won the game 1-0, and then we're probably having a very different discussion. So it is fine margins as well, and obviously how much of that can you put down to the manager, because he's got he set the team up, they've gone 1-0 up, and he's thinking like, well, we've not been prolific in front of goal over the last few games, let's try and see this game out. He's then relying on the players to do a job and defend well, and ultimately, Ibao Torres contributed to the team not being able to do that, but then also other players didn't close down. So ultimately, the team haven't been able to hold on to lead. How much of that can we put down to Challoner? I think that's the question as well. What was I going to say here? Yeah, but also our defenders were not good enough to play like that. Yeah, I don't really agree on sitting on a 1-0 lead either. That's certainly what I think we tried to at times last season. I think if you look at maybe last season compared to maybe early parts of this season, the one thing I loved about us was When we went a goal up, we actually went for 2 or 3 or 4, and there was a confidence and belief there. If you look at it now, there isn't that confidence and belief that when we go 1-0 up, we can make it 2. And I think that's a big problem, because even if we look at it maybe sort of January, where we had, what was it, Walsall, did we win that 3-1? We beat Grimsby 3-1. That confidence was still there a little bit. That confidence has gone over the last few weeks, and that's something we've got to get back, because the same types of players that we had in them games are the same types of players we've roughly got available now, yet we're not getting the results. We haven't got that belief, we're not scoring goals. So this isn't because Louis Barry got injured in October, because we still won games convincingly, even without Louis Barry. Yes, he'll come back and help the team, but it's not all down to him. You were all over them and saying Rocking and made changes. The manager messed up tonight, simple as that. I agree 100% about needing more robust players, and I hope this new medical guy has a review of the physio and strength and conditioning staff. If heads have to roll, so be it. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about, though. Ultimately, it's about getting the best people in the best jobs, in the right jobs. And if that means a few people haven't done the job well enough and they've got to go, then that's part of being a ruthless and successful football club. And I'm sure that's what County will do, because there's ambition there from people at the top. There's ambition there from Challoner, and there's ambition there from some of the players. And unfortunately, we might not meet them ambitions this season, and we want to go up as champions. That might not happen. It probably won't happen now, to be honest. We want to go up in second place in the automatic spots. That possibly won't happen, though I think it will still, because we're all negative at the moment, and I understand, because we come on the back. This is on the back of a draw, which feels like a loss. But at the end of the day, I've still got to believe we're going to get points from somewhere over these next sort of 8 or 9 games that we've got left. And do we go up as champions? At the moment, it's very unlikely. Do we go up automatically and maintain second place? I think so. I think that's where I'm at the moment. I do think with this game today, I do think we've probably chucked away the title at the moment. But I think second place still has to be the aim, and I think that's still got to be something that I'd say we're likely to do. As for playoffs, I think it'd be absolutely shocking if we went into playoffs now, and I've said that before. But obviously this has been going on for quite a while now, so hopefully people have enjoyed it. Obviously it wasn't the result we were looking for, but we've got a big game now, humongous game, massive game, whatever you want to call it. Big game on Saturday against MK Dons. It will be on Sky for those who can't go to the game, of course, but to those who are, I hope it's a fantastic atmosphere and a fantastic game to go to. We will be doing the live stuff ahead of the game on MK Dons on Saturday, so hopefully people are up for that, and hopefully people are enjoying this live content as well. Hopefully people have enjoyed this live stream as well after the game today. Obviously I've enjoyed having the comments come in. It's all about opinion. There's some great opinions that took place tonight as well. Hopefully people have enjoyed it. So like the video, subscribe as well to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for taking part in this stream as well. And I'll see you guys on Saturday with MK Dons. Hopefully Stockport County can get a better result on Saturday than what we saw tonight. Thanks for watching. We can actually close it. There we go.